Coming up on Loyola Pack News, the New Orleans community remembers Tom Benson. We'll give you the details on his funeral arrangements.
A Maryland high school is on lockdown after a morning shooting. We'll bring you the latest.
And we use them every day, but could our cell phones be harmful to our health? That and more coming up on Loyola Pack News.
Hello, I'm Davis Walden.
And I'm Anna Knapp.
Notre Dame Seminary prepares to open its doors to the public tomorrow and Thursday to remember Tom Benson. The New Orleans Saints and Pelicans owner died last week, nearly a month after he was hospitalized with flu-like symptoms.
Reporter Marie Cahill tells us the legacy Benson leaves behind.
Born and raised in the 7th Ward, the self-made billionaire and Loyola alum was an iconic figure of the New Orleans community as owner of both the Saints and the Pelicans. But despite bringing the Lombardi Trophy to the city in 2010, it is his generosity to the New Orleans community that will be Benson's lasting legacy. Through his successful career, Benson gave away countless of millions to charities and organizations across the Gulf Coast, including his alma mater, Loyola.
In 2013, Tom Benson pledged $5 million to the Loyola Undergraduate Scholarship Fund.
Also, he pledged $8 million to build the Tom Benson Jesuit Center, which is expected to be built in the center of campus on the Monroe Quad. Once built, the center will support the Jesuit community on campus. A marker in the middle of the Monroe Quad shows where the future center is set to be built. A statement issued by the university describes Benson as a friend to the university and states he embodied the Jesuit ideal of being a man with and for others. For Pack News, I'm Mairead Cahill.
Visitation is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Notre Dame Seminary located on 2901 South Carrollton Avenue. Visitation continues Thursday from 8 to 1. A private funeral is set for Friday at St. Louis Cathedral.
In Maryland, one person is dead and 2 others injured after a morning shooting at Great Mills High School. St. Mary's Sheriff Tim Cameron says the school resource officer engaged the shooter and ended the threat. The shooter was pronounced dead. According to the sheriff, a male student is in stable condition and a female student is in critical condition. The school resource officer fired a round at the shooter, and the shooter fired a round as well. The officer was not injured. Great Mills High has more than 1,600 students.
A 5th bombing rocks Texas this morning, this time at a FedEx facility. Authorities are on the scene in Austin. Police believe this incident is part of a serial bomber. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he's working to put an end to these attacks. Bill Prezan has the story.
Make the community feel as safe as possible.
Governor Greg Abbott told me law enforcement doesn't want any runaway fears. So the state is opening up the checkbook to cover as much ground as possible, catch the bomber, and reassure the public.
There's a great level of uncertainty and hence a lot of reports about the necessity to look into all these packages.
His office announced $265,000 in emergency state grants so APD and DPS can buy 7 portable X-ray systems to see inside packages quickly and safely. When I asked Governor Abbott why this grant was important, he said, listen, people might be afraid right now, and he wants to send a message so people know that their local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies are working together and that they have the resources to catch this bomber. Also in the field now, more than 100 Texas DPS officers, sergeants, and DPS special agents. The Texas Ranger Bomb Squad and bomb-sniffing dogs are here, along with intelligence analysts and helicopters. The goal is to cover as many calls as possible.
Almost any type of package or backpack or anything out there may have the possibility of having either a bomb in it or equipment that could go into a bomb.
Phil Prezan, KXAN News.
President Donald Trump has also pledged his support to local law enforcement.
Here at home, Loyola students are casting votes for their Student Government Association leaders. Reporter Nick Ryman is joining us live from our newsroom with a rundown of this year's candidates. Nick?
Anna, voting is open for this year's student government elections. 3 candidates are going for the presidency, and the Maroon had the opportunity to sit down with each of them to go over their platforms. For more on what the candidates said, as well as a breakdown of the candidates running for Senate, be sure to pick up the Maroons' 2018 election guide, on stands now. And when you do, make sure to flip to page 14 to see the Maroons' official endorsement for the presidential race. And check out page 15 of our special edition for a message from our outgoing SGA president. Voting remains open on OrgSync until tomorrow at 6 p.m. Back to you, Davis and Anna.
Nearly all Americans, some 95% of us, are said to have cell phones. A recent federal government report states radiation from phones could be dangerous. I sat down with one student to talk about the issue. 21-year-old Jessica Dicker, her cell phone is by her side 24/7, but a new study from the Department of Health and Human Services National Toxicology Program shows that a cell phone could be harmful to our health. The device emits electromagnetic fields that the body absorbs, causing harm.
It's still kind of scary to think about, and I try to use the speakerphone when I'm like calling my mom or something like that, just to keep it away from my head so the battery and all of the radiation in the battery and stuff doesn't get too close to me.
The federal government did a 10-year study where rats were exposed to cell phone radiation. The male rats ended up getting a rare tumor in the heart. I spoke to Dr. Emily Eisworth at Loyola to learn more about tumors.
So in general, tumors can occur when cells divide and grow excessively in the body. And so under normal circumstances, the human body controls that cell growth. And tumors occur when that growth is disturbed. So for example, with radiation, it can be dependent on the wavelength, time of exposure, length of exposure, or the proximity. So it's variable.
Jessica Dicker worries about her proximity to her cell phone that is required as a student.
As much as we're using our cell phones and using technology to, like for our studies and for our education, it would kind of suck if we're doing all of this and we're also getting cancer from it, even though it's like kind of what we have to do in this day and age.
The cell phone controversy still continues as additional studies come out. A panel of experts are scheduled to review study results next week.
Coming after the break, a new scam puts the brakes on college students' job hunts.
And jazz musicians make noise about low wages.
Maybe I have that?
Oh, thank you. Did you see anyone's broccoli? You okay? Thanks for helping us.
No problem.
Is this strawberry? You're welcome.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Uber is pulling self-driving cars from the road and suspending all testing after a pedestrian was hit and killed by a self-driving car in Arizona. A self-driving Uber SUV Sunday night hit a woman walking outside a crosswalk in Tempe. She died at the hospital. Tempe police say the vehicle was in autonomous mode at the time of the crash, but a driver was behind the wheel. Uber officials issued a statement saying the company is cooperating with the investigation.
College students beware. While you may be gearing up for that post-graduation job hunt, reporter Abigayle Lista tells us there's a new scam making you think you've landed a great job.
Vin Nguyen is a college senior on the job hunt, sending out resume after resume, but is being a bit cautious. Vin finally landed a part-time position as a marketing assistant.
It was like another job. I had the information, I had the paperwork, I had the documentation.
But Vin's international marketing job was anything but real. His so-called employer expected him to run errands and would send him checks made payable to him to deposit into his personal bank account. Vin was then told to write checks to other vendors using the deposited funds.
It was a job scam that cost me $5,000. I'm broke already. It took me a while to pay that off, honestly.
After realizing he'd been scammed, Vin called authorities and they told him that they could do nothing. Then he called his bank and they also told him they could do nothing. Then he called the place where he got his job in Loyola and they also told him they couldn't do anything either.
You will want to, if you're concerned about it, reach out to us. We can help you vet it to figure out if it's a job scam. And then if you have already gone ahead and if you feel like you've given out information that you shouldn't, come and see us.
Vin isn't alone. FBI is warning students about the scam, stating never accept a job that requires depositing checks into your own bank account or wiring portions to other individuals or accounts. But for Vin, this has been a costly mistake, one he'll look out for in his job hunt.
Abigayle, Lista, Loyola News Services.
If you've been a victim of this scam or any other internet-related scam, you may file a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at www.ic3.gov, and you're asked to notify your campus police.
New Orleans is known for its jazz music, but what happens when the musicians don't make enough money to keep their music alive? Reporter Beck takes us to Frenchmen Street, where musicians voice their concerns about their low wages.
Frenchmen Street is a venerated music destination, one driving millions of dollars in tourism revenue. But the musicians that play there are unsure if they can actually demand higher pay for their exhausting gigs, when so much of the power lies with venue agreements.
Too many venues are willing to say that they can't afford to pay musicians, and too many musicians are willing to accept that narrative when it's just not true.
It's a huge subject because it's global. It's just about the gutting of the middle class.
Artists are often subject to starvation wages with little to no benefits.
We don't get our health insurance covered. We don't get our pensions paid into. We don't really get anything. Oftentimes we don't even get the proper tax forms.
A challenge posed for musicians trying to organize and protest against these conditions is that Louisiana venues aren't obligated to hire unionized musicians in any way.
Louisiana is a right-to-work state, which everyone knows means a right to work for less, and you can't criticize them for doing that.
While tourism increases every year and wages stagnate, musicians are split on how to advocate for their rights on Frenchmen Street.
Musicians, as well as everyone else, are being worked to the bone so much that they don't even have the time to organize.
Reporting for Loyola News, this is Beck.
Musicians on Frenchmen are facing difficult guarantees, and as of yet, there's no clear solution in sight.
Spring is finally here. Tia Teamer has the forecast.
And the Loyola rugby team hopes to bring home the crown. Brian Wollitz will have more in sports after the break.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education, what are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills, the smarts.
Yes, you.
You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
It's springtime.
I really cannot wait for those cold temperatures to come in.
I know this weekend I bet you is going to be really pretty.
Well, this entire week is actually going to be really pretty. We have a cool and breezy kickoff to our spring season. Today we had our spring equinox at 11:15 a.m. I went outside and took a look at Holmes Court right outside, and I did see our palm trees. They are pretty breezy, blowing in the wind up there. We had clear skies this morning. For the temperatures for this week, we have temperatures in the 50s and 60s. In Gulfport, we have 60 degrees, In Slidell, we have 59. In Lakefront, we have 63, 61 degrees in Belle Chase, and 61 in Houma. For our visibility this week, it is pretty clear outside. We don't have that much fog. You can see about 10-mile radius in Slidell, as well as Gulfport and Belle Chase. We do have flood warnings, however, up until Friday, the 23rd. Our flood warnings will take place around the Mississippi River in Picayune as well as New Orleans. Tonight we'll have breezy weather as well. It will remain clear skies. However, we have our temperatures in the 40s and 45 to 47 and 52. I'm standing in front of the graphic. It's clear and Chilly, mostly clear, less windy. For our 7-day forecast, you're right, Anna, we are going to have sunshine throughout the week. On Tuesday, which is today, we have our spring equinox with 68 degrees. We have tomorrow, Wednesday, 69 degrees. Throughout the week, we'll remain in the 70s. And then on the weekend, we have a max of 81 degrees. Next week, sorry, it is going to have a few showers, but that's our weather.
Thanks, Tia. Brian, what's happening in sports?
See a lot of big news coming nationwide and back here in the city and here at Loyola. And big news for the Wolfpack. The Loyola rugby team is heading to the national playoffs for the first time since the 2014 season. Loyola finished the season with a 4-1 record and is the champion of the Deep South Rugby Conference. The Wolfpack matches up against Valdosta State on Saturday morning in a rematch of their last meeting in the second round 4 years ago. And while the rugby team is headed to the national championships, the women's basketball team fell short in the Sweet 16. The Wolfpack traveled to the national tournament for the fifth straight time this past season in the first round. And in the first round, the women matched up with Our Lady of the Lake, taking the Saints down in overtime, 89 to 86. In the second round, however, the Wolfpack faced a tough Westmont team, falling to the Warriors 77 to 65.
But I'll tell you what, this team is just a bunch of fighters, And I really feel like in this postseason, we have worked so hard from beginning to end. We have just we put games one after the other where they just worked and just never gave up. And I really feel like one of the reasons for our success was that, and then also just our toughness factor. God, we were just tough. And those two leaders that we had with Diamond Jackson and
I mean, Montana was fun. I'm glad that we came out. We did more than we did 2 years prior. So it was accomplishment for us, even if we didn't make it past the second round. It was great to make it as far as we did, and it was wonderful to finish my year with Zoe because I started out here 3 years ago. She hadn't really played her freshman year, and we came in and we decided we were just going to take over. And it felt really good for us to both be the best that we could be this final year together, and that we were able to carry the team as far as we did.
March Madness is heating up as the Sweet 16 kicks off this Thursday. History's being made and brackets are busted nationwide. The biggest news coming out of the tournament comes as the number 16 seed University of Maryland Baltimore County routs number 1 seed Virginia in the first round and a betting favorite to win the tournament. This is the first time a 16 seed has taken down a 1 seed during March, so a huge win for the Retrievers, putting the small school on the map. And coming off a big 108-89 win against the Celtics on Sunday, the Pelicans are back at home tonight as they take on the Mavericks at 7 in the Smoothie King Center. The Pels are holding on to a 7th seed in the tight Western Conference and look for Anthony Davis to build on his 34-point, 11-rebound performance from Sunday again tonight. And just a few days ago, the Pelicans honored their late owner, Tom Benson, with a moment of silence against the Rockets coming 2 days after his death. In a statement from Pelicans head coach Alvin Gentry before the game, he said, quote, "We lost a giant." The late Saints and Pelicans owner bought the Saints back in 1985 and purchased the Hornets in 2012, changing their name in 2013 to the Pelicans. So a sad day for New Orleans, and Benson will be truly missed by the city and its sports fans alike. Just truly sad. Benson did so much for the city, not only for sports, but donating to Ochsner, donating to Brother Martin High School, and even donating money to here at Loyola. So he'll be truly missed by many people across the city. That's right, go Wolfpack.
Coming up after the break, age is a number for this competition weightlifter.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be blood. Next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So. I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
200 pounds as a hobby. I'll introduce you to one powerlifting competitor who says she's getting better with age. Meet Leah Michael, a 62-year-old who found a new hobby, powerlifting.
I originally just started because I wanted to be healthy as I got older, and the more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it, and saw that I did pretty good at it.
The unconventional powerlifter works out 2 hours straight, 4 times a week, at an unconventional gym. Leah Michaels trains in what used to be the Falstaff Brewery here in New Orleans, and what it is now is an apartment complex and a gym. Michael found her home at 504 Fitness after being convinced by her trainer, Jake Impastato, to go into powerlifting.
She was looking the part for a figure competitor, but then she liked it a lot. She was getting really strong, and we saw the potential that she could be a really good powerlifter. So I said, hey, why don't you give powerlifting a chance?
Michael is gearing up for her 8th competition in July. I don't think I can lift that much.
Well, when I'm old, I hope I can lift that much. It's crazy.
Why would you be able to lift that much when you're old?
She sure can.
Yeah, she sure can. She sure can. I gotta take a couple tips from her, implement it in my workout routine.
Exactly.
Every Tuesday.
And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.